Hopefully we can get him in.
Hey guys, and welcome to episode 58 of the Garage Athlete Show. Joined tonight by Daniel, and he has organised a guest for us. But before the guest managed to get on, we thought we'd have a little breakdown of the weekend. So, for those of you that don't know, I competed this weekend in the UK DFBA Heart of England natural bodybuilding show. So because I've never won a category before, actually I came dead last the first time that I competed. I could compete in the novices again. However, I think because of a mix of like COVID and everything, there was 19 people entered into the novice class. So what they did
is that a lot?
That's a lot. By their standards, it's a lot. And they don't like having more than 10 of you on stage at once. So they split us into two categories. The short class, which I think was under 175 centimeters, and then the tall class, which was over 175 centimeters. So I was on stage with the guys that, some guys were quite a bit heavier. Like the guy that won was a considerable amount heavier than I was. However, I got first call out, which in bodybuilding terms is very, very good. It means
what does that mean?
So because there was two groups of five, your first call out will normally be the people that they want to place first through fifth. So they stick you next to each other so they can compare your physique. So how it works in bodybuilding in terms of scoring is you've got different shots. You've got your different mandatory poses. So you've got your quarter turns. You've then got the front double bicep, front lat spread, side chest, rear double bicep, rear lat spread, side tricep, and then abs and thighs and the most muscular. And basically you get scored in terms of muscularity, symmetry, balance, and then condition. And then there's like 5 things that you scored on. And basically it's whoever wins those shots. So if you win 5 out of the 8 shots, then you're in first, and then you compare second and third and fourth. So I went 3 rounds back to back of posing. I was the only person all day that ended up just on stage, just doing back to back posing.
Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing?
Oh, it was brutal. By my legs, by the time I then went off stage and then came back on to do my individual routine, I was knackered. I was sweating. But I really, really enjoyed it. The difference is I went into the show with 0 expectations because of what happened last time. And I know how gutted I was last time. So I went in and went, you know what? If I do well, I do well. If I don't, you know what? I've got another one in 6-7 weeks time. I'll be in better condition for that. This is just about coming here and showing my worth and showing that I have a right to kind of be up here. And basically, as they were handing out the medals, the judge was handing me my medal and went, "Mate, you were really, really unlucky to not get a 3rd place there. You've done really well." So, as I said, I felt better after that, just because.
Yeah, I mean, how far off 3rd were you?
Pardon?
How far off 3rd were you?
I don't know. They don't give you like the judges' feedback. So it's one of those. Jake said like he'd got me in 3rd. Obviously, looking at it from a different eye. Let me see if I can pull up the photos. Actually, people don't mind seeing me in my tiny bodybuilding pants. Right. Share screen. So this is the guy that won. This is second. I don't know. Can you see that? Oh, maybe not. Can you see?
No,
there you go. So yeah,
okay,
this is the guy that won. This guy came in second, and this guy came in 3rd.
Mate, you see, this is where bodybuilding is subjective. Like 2nd and 1st, mate, I can see they're in good shape, especially first. Yeah, look at that, like
He
full.
was phenomenal.
Yeah, separated abs. Look at the quads. Yeah, pretty fucking big legs. Aren't they? Well, second's got big legs as well. Actually, I suppose third's got that quad sweep, doesn't he? But I would say you were. Oh,
I
I would have put you
think
above him. Yeah.
there's lots of photos of these guys. So there's me in my tiny pants. But like, this was the final set of posing, but
Yeah.
I don't know why they still have me on stage at this point. I think they just needed a fifth guy.
Chest looks much more developed than those dudes. Well, maybe not the one on the end, but
See
yeah.
if I can get the one where I'm on stage with the guy that goes third. So
Yeah.
this was the first call out. So I was obviously in the mix with these two.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think what he beats me on is legs. But
Yeah,
then as you said,
he's got
like
more of a sweep, but not
midsection wise, like I think it was really, really close.
It is close, isn't it? Yeah, it's funny with those two in the middle, you can kind of see they're like they're kind of up there, right? Whereas I think between you two, it's
yeah, I think they needed to stand us next to each other.
I think
Basically,
so
I
too.
think we should have on the first call out, me and this guy should have swapped.
Is that can you do that on stage, or is that something the
So
judges
no,
do?
the judges will ask you to do that. So if they were deciding between myself and this guy, I think it's because there was so many of us. I think if there was only say 8, then they might have done another round of posing with us to kind of like moved around. But because there was 10 people on stage, you want to at least get everybody out to do their poses like once or twice, just so they get kind of like that stage experience. And there was 180 athletes to get through that day. It was like the busiest show like ever in the UK DFBA. But it is what it is. At the end of the day, like I'm not upset by it. It's one of those things now. I wasn't competing in a weight class. I think I was 69.5 kilos on the morning off. So pretty much the exact same weight as I was last time, but in a lot better condition. I've obviously got more muscle. I can pose much better. I can actually control myself on stage, and I wasn't nervous. It was like that nervous, excited energy when I was up there, and I genuinely enjoyed my time up there. And those are the main things that that I wanted to kind of take away from that show.
But I think you did yourself proud, man. Like you really don't. I don't know if you're up for sharing it, mate, but I know you went through a lot just before you went through like for those that know you, your mother unfortunately passed away, weeks before the show? You had a family holiday.
5 weeks out, 4 or 5 weeks
out.
out.
Yeah, 5 weeks out. You had the funeral to go to as well. And it was a hell of a job you did, man. Like what was going through your head to keep yourself focused for that comp? Because I think that is, you couldn't really ask for more of toughness of life thrown at you. I mean, how are you going through all that?
I think when it comes to my mum, like because she had Alzheimer's, she's had Alzheimer's since 2014. I've grieved a lot already because the mum I knew growing up had gone a long time before that. Like mum now was just sat in a bed being fed. She was just an empty vessel. Like she just, even when my aunties and stuff would go in to see her in the home, like she'd just pretend to be asleep. Like it was no way to live. And having known, like my mum traveled all around the world, like teaching, like she taught in the Bahamas, obviously where she met my dad. She taught in Australia. She traveled all across America. She taught in Tenerife. She's lived a really full and like fulfilling life. And it's just one of those things. One of the last memories I have of my mum was just before I was moving to Liverpool to go to university. Like, I can't remember, somebody had said something because I decided at like 15, 16, like I wanted to be a personal trainer. But then I also wanted to go off to university to study sport and exercise science, because that's just what I wanted to do. And somebody, think in the quite immediate family, basically said to me, like, why does he want to be a personal trainer? There's no money in that. And it quite upset me at the time. And mum turned around and went, you know what, D, because that's what she used to call me, like, there's enough people in this world that are going to tell you exactly what you can't do. You just need to go out there and show them what you can. And I know that she wouldn't have wanted me to have. I've been working to this show, not just for this dieting phase. Like, for the past 2 years, I've been putting in the work. I've been going in the gym. I've been watching my food. I've been watching my supplements. It's not just the prep. It's everything that's kind of gone up to that point. And it's one of those things where it's like, if I just jacked it in and just went and ate and drank and made myself feel better, yes, that would have felt good in the moment. But then in 6 months' time, when I got that itch again, I then got to go through that whole process, which I've just kind of been through, to then get my time on the stage where I won't then have made any more improvements than I have now. And I won't be able to compete next year either, because I'm getting married. So it's another one of those things where it's delaying that gratification. Like, I think for me, actually having a lot of structure in my day right now meant that I couldn't sit there and be alone with my thoughts and be sad and just kind of go on that downward spiral that can sometimes happen when you're grieving, because it's okay, I need to get my steps in, right? I need to get my cardio done. I need to get my training done, right? I need to prep my food. There's lots of things for me to do to stay busy. So maybe I am running away from my grief, and maybe it's going to hit me like an absolute rock when all this is over. However, it's how I'm coping at the moment is the easiest way to put it.
Yeah, it's, you're doing well, man. I think it shows the importance of routine, and it got me thinking, like, you know, I think having that goal kind of kept you on track. I think would have, although it was tough for you, I think having that goal to work towards was maybe something to focus on. But then always also made me think, like, I guess it's how you frame life. There's never really a right time to do anything, like whether you're bodybuilding shows or losing weight, gaining muscle. You know, there are times when, of course you can't, but you can certainly get something out of a bad time. I think we had, I remember in one of our group challenges, unfortunately, a good friend of theirs passed away, and it was, you know, obviously I think it was quite sudden out of the blue, but it was so, you know, great, and it was also, I'd say, inspiring as well to see them sort of throw themselves into their training and actually use that. What you saying? I don't know if negative energy is the right word, but how they're feeling into their own training and get some more gains and throw themselves balls deep into it. So it was good to see. And I think times when you're sad, you can use it as a great motivator. I think sometimes I wouldn't say the easy option is to like throw your toys out of the pram and just collapse, because, you know, that happens to people. That's your right to do that.
And
Absolutely.
it's completely acceptable to do that. Like, I think everybody deals with grief in their own way. And for me, this is like how I've dealt with it is going to be completely different to how another person deals with it. Like, I've actually had people that have been like, aren't you not going to compete? Like, within my own family, actually. And just, why are you still dieting? Like, so obviously when I was at the wake, I wasn't really eating. And they're like, oh, why are you not eating? Or why can't you drink alcohol? So, oh, I'm doing a bodybuilding competition in like 3 weeks' time. Why? It's like, because I want to. And they just didn't, because it's so separated from their reality of what is normal. Like, it's just, yeah, but your mum's just died. And it's like, okay, you choose to deal with it in your way. I'm choosing to kind of deal with it in mine. And this is the way that I'm kind of getting through it. And I'm definitely of the opinion you might not agree with everything that I do, but just respect that we live in a free country and I can choose to do whatever I want. Don't try to tell me I'm wrong.
I mean,
doing what
did
I'm
you
doing.
find yeah, we find this all the time as coaches. People, why are you trying to lose weight? Why are you doing this? You know, this could be bad for your squatting's bad for your knees, etc. Like, did you find with your meet, your competition coming on, like, did you find you still had that sort of, I don't know if it's negativity, but those sort of questions with you leading into it?
Yeah, but I just chose to let those people find their way out of my circle of influence, to put it nicely. It's just one of those. If anybody gave me any negativity in the like, apart from obviously like my family, but Natalie didn't, and my immediate family wouldn't. I just wouldn't respond to it. I'd just say politely, look, I'm competing in 2 weeks' time. I can't deal with stress right now, so I'm not going to deal with that. Just leave it at that. Like, if you don't engage with it, they can't. And this is something that I try to tell my clients as well. It's just politely disengage with the conversation. If you argue back with them, it's going to get you more wound up, and you're giving more energy to that fight. Whereas if you just politely decline to engage with it, they'll forget about it. You'll keep overthinking it, but they'll forget about it. To them, it's probably just an offhand comment. They don't even realize how much of a spanner in the works of your journey it could be, because I think everybody forgets that we're only the main character in our own story, and people's opinions, like, they're just fleeting. They just come in their head and they just say what they're thinking, and then they go off and carry on with the rest of their life. They don't even realize that thought is then going to sit in your head and fester away and make its way into being a negative impact on your life.
Yeah, I think what you got there is a champion's mindset. I think it's the way to describe it. Not choosing. I think the way I kind of dealt with it is not choosing to focus too much on the bad stuff. I think sometimes you can use what people say. There's two ways of dealing with it. You've got, if people compliment you, use that as a motivator. Oh, I'm doing great. That's nice to hear some good stuff. If people say to you, you can't do that, use that to motivate you. To use the negativity to push you forward. I've certainly used that. I mean, it's not necessarily the ideal way or the longest term solution, but I think you can certainly get some awesome results from using that negativity in a positive manner, which I think you did.
Yeah.
Are they eggs on? That's right. Are they eggs on top of your microwave?
Onions.
Onions. I thought that is the biggest egg I've ever seen, but it's an onion.
We've got onions, and then custard tarts. So
Mate, like how you do that, I don't know, mate. I've got like some chocolate stuff in the house, and it's a nightmare.
Oh, mate,
Anyway,
there's a cupboard over there that's full of chocolate, crisps, like everything that I want to eat right now, and it's just where I am in prep now. It doesn't bother me. In the first kind of when we really started to turn the screw and like the hunger signals and everything were getting really, really bad, it was really hard to stay out of that cupboard.
You have made us something else.
Obviously, since we last spoke as well, I got sponsored.
Oh yes, who are you sponsored by?
So I am now an official Arctic Berg athlete. So I was actually training with Jay, and he was saying about obviously with my social media, I'm about to hit the 10,000 people mark. He was like, why don't you just ask some companies like what you would need to do more to get sponsored? So I sent out about 5 or 6 messages. About 4 of them got back to me with like, you need to have to get a sponsorship, you need to have a good working relationship with the company. You need to buy their products. Like, most people don't sponsor people that don't buy their products because they want your recommendations to be authentic. So at the end of the day, I've already been buying Arctic Berg's products for over a year. I've been using their pump agent. I use their EAAs every session. Their protein's amazing. The glacial mass one, I wasn't a big fan of like the cola flavor, but the lemon flavor is actually really nice. So yeah, that's cool. Get my supplements sent through, get a care package, as he says. sent through each month.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
Well
Yeah,
earned.
I'll pop the discount code in
there it is. Sponsored athlete hashtag.
The things below. So yeah, I need to
Right.
figure out how I track like how many people are actually using that. So I need to figure that bit out.
Sure,
Right, have you found Mo?
Right, so I think Mo is good to go. So I'm just gonna send him the old Zoom invite. I'll let you know when it's been seen, and then we'll bring him in. So we have Mo. Don't ask me how to pronounce his name. I would butcher it. Mojeed. I'm gonna say Mojeed Sulayman. I think. I'll let him know if I'll let him know if he thinks he's good. But what I know, but he is current. I think it's heavyweight. Britain's. He won gold at his last competition, meaning he is under 105, number one ranked lifter in the UK.
Nice. What's his IG handle?
I'm not even going to try and pronounce it. No, Abdul Mojeed, I think. Mojeed, yeah, Mojeed, I think that's how you pronounce it. So we've got 307.5 kilo squat, 185 kilo bench, and a 342.5 kilo deadlift, and this is all done in a drug tested federation. So he is good to go. We'll get him on. We'll have a little chat with him. He's got a YouTube channel as well. I know he's pretty on it with his training, so we'll get him in and have a little chat. And he's just coming in now, and he's absolutely fucking jacked as well.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi Mo, yeah, we can hear you fine.
Okay, is the audio good and everything?
The audio is fine. We haven't got you on screen yet. We've just got a picture you looking massive. There he is. Hey Mo, how you doing, man?
Cheers. Hi, not too bad. Cheers.
Yeah, thanks for coming on and getting sorted. So we got the wires crossed a little bit with timings, but we got you on and everything's just fine. We just had talking about bragging about being a sponsored athlete for the last 20 minutes, so everything is good. So yeah, man. So do you mind just introducing yourself to our audience? I think I've butchered the pronunciation of your name, but we'll get it from you, man. We'll listen.
Okay. So my name is Abdul Mojeed, and I am just powerlifting IPF. I also do a bit of software programming on the side, so I do that for my normal standard job, and that's about it.
So computer programmer. You got a YouTube channel, is that right?
Oh yeah, I do.
Yeah, man. So I think you've uploaded quite a few sort of like training videos, and I think we'll try and drive people to your channel because it's always good to see a talented lifter documenting their journey. Yeah, man. But so you are fresh off winning Britain's, am I right?
Yeah.
Well done, mate. That's an incredible fit. Am I right in saying you're still pretty young as well?
Yeah, I'm just 24.
20. So 24.
It's not that young though.
It's weird in powerlifting terms. You're all freaks these days, man. Like, I don't think I even knew what powerlifting was at 23. Yeah. Whereas now, like, everyone's deadlifting way over 300, and it's just like, it's insane, man. Yeah. But it's good though. So, obviously, massive congratulations. But yeah, tell us about how did it go? Did you make all your attempts? How did you feel on the day? Was anyone close to you?
The comp was good. There was I don't know if there's a guy called Indiraj. He was actually predicted.
Yes.
Yeah, he injures a massive.
But the guy's sponsored by Extreme.
Yeah, some sponsored by Extreme Strength Shop. He's got quite a few.
I know the guy.
Yeah,
I don't know his military. Cool.
He's pretty strong. He was, I think, he was predicted to place first, but I didn't think he just had the best day. And there weren't that many of us in the class, unfortunately. But it was what it was. Yeah.
We spoke to Benji a few weeks ago, and I know he's gone to 120s and also had a great comp as well. So
he had a good comp. Yeah.
Yeah, but now it's I'd say even though it wasn't necessarily stacked out, he's a serious the guy who competed against is a serious competitor. I've seen some of this on Instagram.
Oh, there's some strong guys. There was him, there was Thomas Barnick, and then there was Easy, that's his Instagram name, but he just moved up from the 93s. So there were a few people, but the top 3 guys went there. So it was a bit easier than it should have been.
Yeah, I mean, you've still got to take the victory that's there on the day. Like, I mean, you see a lot of the best lifters kind of, they'll always say first, oh, not everyone's the same on the day, but it's who's there on the day, or you never know, you might have I guess a Tony Kish situation whenever you find out you came third, then everyone starts getting drug tested and losing, and then you find yeah. Fair enough. That's a weird victory to get, man. But yeah, I mean, talk us through the lifts you got on the day.
So I ended up with 307.5 kg squat, 185 kg bench, and a 342.5 kg deadlift.
Oh, so am I right in
Yeah.
saying the ones you've got on your handle, is that all that was all just done recently?
Yes.
So did you basically PB every lift then on the day?
I didn't. Squat was a massive PB. So the best I'd done pre doing my prep was 295. So I got through 7. Bench was the same. I
Yeah.
benched 185 last year actually.
Yeah.
And then deadlift was a 2.5 kg PB give or take, because
It's a
I
PB?
deadlifted 340 in like March
Yeah.
time. Yeah, but
Oh,
deadlift
dude.
after like
Yeah.
the 340 pull I did, deadlift never felt the same.
Yeah.
There's kind of been this on and off thing, just trying to keep that strength as much as possible.
Yeah, I remember you were saying you kind of felt like you had another attempt in you after your last deadlift.
Yeah, the deadlift felt good on that day, but leading up to the meet, deadlift did not feel great at all.
Yes, what happened? It just came together on the day, or
Yeah, that's the most important thing actually.
it's the proper. We just talked. But Dom's just fresh off a bodybuilding show, and he's got
Okay.
another one in a few weeks. But it's kind of like the mental battles you start playing with yourself before meets, but especially with your deadlift. You know, I think from the looks of it, deadlift is your event, right? So if that feels off, it must just be like, oh no. But like we say on the day, you just, especially bench press, you just never know, right? It's just
Definitely. And I was also dealing with like some bicep issues, or rotator cuff issues. So it was kind of going to be hit and miss because I couldn't actually train squat and bench in the same session. So I actually didn't know how bench would go on to meet day, which was pretty
you normally
interesting.
kind of like squat and bench normally together and deadlift a separate day?
Normally I would in my normal prep, but then my rotator cuff flared up.
Yeah.
And anytime I squatted and I tried to bench afterward, my bicep would flare up massively. So it made like training a lot more tricky. But everything, I had like a few injuries coming into the prep and during the prep, but like on the comp day, everything held up like pretty well. And then as soon as I got to my tour, I just literally broke down.
Especially like tied together with duct tape and just anything.
Basically,
right. But no, you did it, man.
So-
I think there's a good lesson there. Like, sorry, there's a good lesson there in it might not have been the plan or the exact way to train, but yet you have to take what's in front of you. There's no point, the worst case scenario is you would have, I've lifted these extra kilos in training, but if your rotator cuff's ruined on the day, then what's the point?
So how long, in terms of powerlifting, you said like your prep. So how long do you taper your training so that you peak ready for like a competition?
So this one was a bit of a weird one. Like this whole last, to an extent, I have been training and peaking for almost a year, just because of how weird everything has been playing. But it wasn't specifically British, but it's just been so. Everything started off 2019 nationals, junior nationals. So I had that, and then after that nationals, I got an invite for the GB squads session, which was supposed to be like a lead up going into Worlds. So I started training for that, and then lockdown happened. So I kind of peaked for that. Lockdown happened. I kind of just went straight into training for junior nats in 2020, hoping that would carry on. So that was like training throughout that whole period. That didn't happen. Had a mock meet, and then I went back straight into training again. And then I had a massive injury, which took me out for like about 3-4 months. And then so you could say I was prepping for junior nationals around, it was like a 11-12 week prep, give or take. But like bench and deadlifts, I kind of stayed relatively sub 50%, 60-70% train weight all through the last year, pretty much.
What was your issue you had?
I just broke myself, honestly. It was just there's no other way to describe it. It was just, I think it was just a combination of junior nationals plus trying to prep for the squad session. My knee started flaring up doing that prep, but I kind of didn't take the rest time doing lockdown either, because the first lockdown I had loads of gym equipment and everything. Well, I was able to source a bit of gym equipment, and I just kept on training through all of that whole year, leading up to end of the year for junior nationals. And then by the time I did my mock meet in the gym, which was at the end of 2020, I kind of did my mock meet, lifted like, I attempted a 305 squat, failed it. And then the next week I was trying to get back into training again. So it was like just a very long period of not actually taking any break from my body. And I think I got some quad tendonitis. That's why I got diagnosed with. But I had a 140 squat. I went down to squat it, and I felt like a pop or sliding on my knee, top of the knee, and I just felt it. And it just hurt from then on. So I had to strip go straight back down to the bar and like slowly work back up again.
Yeah,
Right.
how's it now?
It's on and off. It's there. It held up for nationals, which is good. But we're messing around with a few things to work around the issue. So like today, I was messing around with some flats for squats because I normally squat with heels.
Mhm.
So trying to see, I've got like a few physio sessions lined up, but it's looking better.
That's good to hear. Yeah, so you're doing some a bit of the old volume after the meet, which is always a good idea. I've always done it. I know everyone says you
Yeah.
don't need to do that these days, but fuck it, I think it's a great
That's
base
good,
builder.
man. Put some more muscle tissue on and then try again, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. So you said going into the meet, deadlift wasn't feeling great, but still build a BB. But do you think squats were feeling awesome? Did you know that 307 was there?
Squats were feeling pretty good actually, but it was a fine line because I was still very aware of my injury kind of thing. So like if I wasn't, so the thing I had to really implement during this prep was being very conscious of me in the hole. So I couldn't kind of just squat down, slam it in, and try to get up. Because once I did that, I could literally feel the knee itself, like it would just flare up straight away. So it was kind of like squat where was feeling good, but I wasn't sure if I'll have a good day on squats because the knee could flare up at any point. That was kind of the key point about the whole meet. It was like anything could flare up. My knee could flare up, my shoulder could flare up, my hip could flare up. So everything held together, but we didn't really know what would happen. Like my coach was like, I had to convince him to prep me for nationals because he was just like, we're not sure what would actually happen on the day because everything was a week by week training basis almost, depending on how the body was holding up.
It's a very, very active. I think this is one of the big reasons I moved to coaching clients weekly because just shit changes all the time.
Yeah.
Like you kind of had the framework, but you're just like,
Yeah.
like you need, like you have to move things around, and especially on your deadlift. I mean, that must have been a bit of a I don't know. Do you normally sort of lift relatively close to max, or did you find being sub max was good for you, or do you find it was a bit like I'm a bit worried, I don't know what I've got here?
It wasn't so. This meet wasn't. It was sub max, but it wasn't sub max by choice. If that makes any sense. So I think this meet I had to. One thing I noticed, I stopped at the RPs a lot better. So like I've had this discussion with my coach multiple times, but my previous meet, my deadlifts notoriously don't do well close to prep. I don't know why that is, but I look back on the data and anytime I'm getting close to prep, I'm not doing it close to any of the numbers I normally do outside of the prep period. And I think maybe that's because squats is getting heavier and bench is getting heavier.
Yeah,
but
everything has a cost, right?
Yeah, basically. But for this one, I think the heaviest I had deadlifted about 340 in March and then scaled back down, started waking up from 270 upwards again, kind of threes, twos, singles, back off sets, pauses. But the heaviest I was able to go was 320. And I like deadlift during that period just felt strength was there. And like the old me in like the old 2019 junior me would have, so my 320 deadlift, which I did last week of my prep, felt terrible. But I left it one rep and I just said, this is RP 8. .5. This is what my body can give me to leave in the
I lost you for a little minute there.
So that
Hello?
was one thing that where deadlifts have gone great for me to compare against.
Screen caught up.
It's a lot of effort. It's a lot of effort. Oh, there we go. We're back on. Right. So do you know where we ended up?
The last thing I heard was an RPE 8.
Oh, okay.
You were saying about that you before, when you were training before, you'd got your 320 deadlift, but you could tell it was an RPE 8, and then it started cutting out back and forth, and then it just dropped me out. So I'm guessing because the recording's being done on here, that's where we will have got to on the recording as well.
Okay. You don't want to hear what we said about you anyway, then.
Okay, no worries.
Now, I was just saying, like before, I would get like a deadlift which is RP8, but then even because it's not the way I wanted for an RP8 single, So let's say, for a good example, before, like for my 2019 junior nationals, I had a 200 or 310 kg deadlift I was supposed to do, but I failed the first rep. So basically that was an RP10 max. So what normally I would have supposed to do there is just leave it, kind of go home and relax. I'm like overshot. But that day I've got videos of me failing the first rep and going back to do another two after that. So I've basically overexhausted myself. But this time around for my next prep, I just made sure to not overshoot each time. So made sure not to fail any weight at all. And if you said RP8, make sure it's RP8. It wasn't like RP10, and then I came back to do an RP9 deadlift kind of thing.
It's so tough, and this is where I'd say I struggle as well, because we say to people, lift RP8, RP8, but for those that don't know, it means lift a heavy weight, 1 rep. No, you could do it 3 times, but then you'll have, like you say, you'll have in your head, your heart is set on that number, and you'll be training it, and then you'll be doing it, you're like, that was an 8, and it's like, really? Was it?
No.
Was it an 8? And it's like, it's fucking not, man. Or like, and you just see it creeping in, and that's when like you just know it's not there. But it's so hard to be honest with yourself. And this is where I think coaches can really help, even for like experienced lifters like yourself, because they just take the emotion out of it, and they can look at your video. Like a good coach will know his or her lifters lifts. They'll know it. They'll look at it and go, you're lying on that one. That's not it. And then you'll be like, you're right. But then it might even be, you'll come back and go, I think I'll be okay. All right, I'll try this. And then you rip it off the floor, and it's like, you could have done it for like 5 more reps. You're like, oh, this is exciting. But it's very hard to adjust to it, though.
I think it's interesting you say that about, I think the mentality within like powerlifting, the mentality within bodybuilding are complete opposite ends of the spectrum.
Oh yeah,
it's
definitely.
like if you say to somebody, right, train to an RPE8, they'd actually train to an RPE6. So that's why you have to tell clients, right, train to failure. And when they think they train to failure, they train and they've still got 2 or 3 reps left. So I just think it's interesting you saying that, like, for you, your coach in powerlifting, coaches almost have to hold you back.
Yeah, definitely.
Kind of overreaching. Whereas I think it's probably not true in terms of like high level, but like I know definitely when I'm coaching people, I tell them to go to failure, because when I watch their videos, I'm like, you had 2 more left. But actually, that said, 2 reps in reserve or an RP8 or whatever it is, and as long as you're training in that sort of area with a decent load, then you can still grow.
Definitely.
Yeah, I was doing sets of 15 today, my 1 squats. 15. What was I doing? And I was like, the funny thing is I could say to myself, it was probably, let's say the last set was an RPE 7 on the 4th set. But then I was like, I really could do some more, because it felt like a 10, but I know it's actually a 7, because it's like if someone put a gun to my head, I know I could do 3 more. But the good thing about RPE, when people think, oh, you're not pushing hard enough, it's like, have you ever actually, where it works well is for people that know what RP10 is, like, have you actually gone to it? Do you know what it feels like? I mean, for us, when you pull, let's say you do, a true deadlift triple max is fucking horrific, or even a 5 rep max on deadlift is something else. The last rep's like, the fucking soul leaves the body and all that Super Saiyan a lot. So it's like we know what it feels like to go like max. So sometimes I think the big thing I learned from top level lifters now is when you watch I think my favorite example of it is, say, what's his name? Is it Bryce Lewis, the American one?
Oh, Bryce Lewis is amazing. Yeah,
just the way every lift is like bang. He's like, oh, that was a bit heavy today. I'm like, what? He never looks like he struggles, but he obviously knows how he can push himself. But every lift is meticulous, it's perfect, but it's like, it's very fast. He's not grinding them out. And the guy's, multiple national champion. Like, well, I think he's even world champion, isn't he? Like, just loads of
No, he's got knocked off now. There's multiple freaks in the 105s, but
but I mean, he did win it at one point.
Yeah, so he won the last 105s, but there's the guy who won it this year is Ashton Rushka. He's just this ball of muscle, basically. That's the best way to describe him.
Muscle. The 105s is a mental class. They're all like, I mean, how tall are you, man?
I'm 6'1", actually. Just 6'1".
There's a 120 in your future, mate.
Oh, I'll be lit, but I can't carry weight, man. That's the
Mate, there's a
issue.
one to mate. I've seen your picture of your shirt. You're fucking jacked, mate. You can afford to put a little bit of timber on when you're getting towards that 30 time, mate. 120s for you, bro. We always say like other they're on weight classes or height classes in disguise. So you'll see, like you can see it in your lifts, like you're a taller lifter, but when you
Yeah,
look at it,
definitely.
it's the deadlift that brings you through, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the deadlift, and hopefully the bench comes through one day. I don't know.
Get up
See
to the
how it
120s,
goes.
mate. You'll have a 200k bench, like I'm sure. But how do you support your training with your eating? Because you're obviously in amazing shape, strong as hell. Like, is it with you food? Is that something you really focus hard on, or is it just kind of you eat what you want?
Food, I've always eaten the same thing, so I'm like, I think why I'm a creature of habit to say. So I'm happy to eat this. Like I can tell you my breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and it's generally the same thing.
Have you
I
been
make
hanging
it
out with
every
Don?
single day. Sorry?
Have you been hanging out with Don? He's the same. I could probably tell
Oh
you.
shit, fair enough. It's just I've just filtered it down to what's the easiest, cheapest thing to make every single time.
He's a student. They should have rice cake, man.
But yeah, nah, I mostly just cook everything I eat, and then I think the one key thing was I didn't. So it took me. I started off in the 93, so I've been powerlifting for about 5 years. And when I started, I was 92.5, so just in the 93s, and I've only just cracked 105, 106 now.
Mm-hmm.
So I've taken that very, very long road of just slowly adding on, slowly adding on.
Was that a conscious effort or just the way it happened?
Just letting the body go. It's just not necessarily conscious. I've never been much of a bulking person. I just don't necessarily like bulking. I just eat what I think I need to eat, and then I also do some cardio once in a while, and that's just it.
Are we tracking calories or just intuitive?
For this one, I had to. So for this prep, I had to track calories because I gained a bit during lockdown. So I actually got up to 107 during lockdown. So 107, 108, and I also wanted to track my protein intake and carbs and fat and all that stuff, just to become more prepared nutrition wise. So I tracked calories this prep over the last 8 weeks. So I got like a good gauge of what my body, and I actually felt a lot better because I was actually tracking protein intake, which I actually felt like helped me recover a lot better in comparison to most preps I've done.
So where, in terms of like a ballpark figure, where are you putting your protein intake? Like how many carbs do you have in a day? And then, so is it like medium protein, high carb, low fat, or like how do you structure it?
So my fat is just naturally low because majority of the stuff I eat doesn't contain most fat. So I was sitting around 70 grams of fat in my meal. I tried to bump it because I was supposed to be around 100, but majority of the stuff I just ate didn't have a lot of fat in it. So I was around 70, 80 for carbs, or I was around 350 grams of carbs, and then protein I was around 220 grams of protein, and then that was roughly around, lowest was around maybe 2,800, 2,900, highest was 3,100, 3,200.
So I was gonna say, we were actively trying to drop weight to come down into that
category. Very slowly, just watching. Our first thing I did was log what I actually eat on a daily basis, and then I just made sure as long as protein was high, I just kind of dropped everything. The main point was to reach 220, 210 protein intake. Once I got that, I was pretty much done eating for the day.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense. I think there's always little bits you can, I don't know, more strings to your bow, maybe more. We always talk about in the podcast 1%. So I think for you, maybe getting a bit more into your food, sort of being aware of, like, upping your protein intake, maybe that had a small effect on your ability to recover, getting ready for the meet. Could have got you the extra kilos on the platform.
Yeah, definitely. It was more interesting. I think like as I'm going forward, I'll need to pay a lot more attention to it because now I'm like 105 plus. So I'm starting to edge. Like over the year, I might edge to 107, 108. So I need to be more into my nutrition to learn how to slowly take out the calories, when to take it out, when to put in surplus, and all that kind of stuff.
All I'm hearing is I need to go more into the 120s.
It's a long road. It took me 4 years to go from 93s to 105.
I know, man. You've won Britain's. It's time to go. Maybe win Europe's. We'll take that. Actually, when would Europe's be?
That's a good question. So Euros is scheduled for end of November. but I'm actually not sure if I get to go because, like I said, the top 3 guys didn't show up. So there's a freak of a human called Sam Watt. I don't know if you've heard of him. He actually bodybuilds. He's he I don't know. I think he won British natural bodybuilding qualification something.
What's his name? Sorry, Sam.
Sam Watt.
The name does sound familiar.
He's 52 and looks like 30.
Sam Watt. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a WMBF pro.
Yeah.
I want to see the Jack guy.
Oh no, he's a freak.
Oh fucking hell! I just saw
he's a freak.
Holy fuck.
So for those of you listening on, what for press there? Oh, what for done?
Have you broken? Yeah, broke it. That is the Jacktest 52 I've ever seen in my life.
Exactly.
He's like he's jacked, and then I saw him, mate. You got to.
Nah, man, I'm skinny. I'm skinny.
You got to have the game, mate.
I'm skinny as hell. Yeah, he's crazy. He there's like pictures and video, not videos, but I think he's in powerlifting. He's been in the fitness industry for like 20, 30 years now. He's got like old pictures of him in 1990s doing equip powerlifting when he was still very minor. So I think he did powerlifting for about 10 years, got into the bodybuilding side for about another 10, 15. And then in his 50s, he's decided to come back and dominate everyone.
Right.
We have to get him on the podcast. This guy sounds amazing.
Yeah.
This is amazing. I love it. I mean, you're carrying a good bit of muscle, mate. Have you got any desire to get bodybuilding?
Nah, nah. I think I need to put on a lot more size if I ever wanted to consider it. Like, I'm tall. Yeah. So I think that my arms are too long to really.
It's just more room for muscle, mate.
Yeah.
More for muscle. But I mean, yeah, who needs biceps and powerlifting? The lights on the Christmas tree. There was ornaments on the Christmas tree, as Ed Cohen calls them.
Oh yeah, I need a lot more.
Yeah, that's good to hear, man. But, yeah, I mean, powerlifting seems to be. I mean, how is it coming back from? What's it like? What's the feeling it meets competition after obviously the last couple of years we've had? Like, what's it like coming back to that? Did you miss it?
Yeah, I missed it definitely. It's nice to have something to train towards because, like, outside of meet period, apart from my deadlift, I really don't push my numbers in the gym. Like, I'm kind of just doing my 5s, doing my 4s, doing my 3s, and then back down to 5s. So it's only during the meet period I actually get to peak and see what the top end strength is. So I definitely missed that whole prep and competition feeling. And it was nice to travel, meet other people you've only be talking to online and stuff, compete against them, watch some other people lifting crazy weight. So it was nice. It was pretty good to go back into.
I bet it was to get that gold medal as well. Yeah. That's huge.
Yeah.
So I mean, what's
the plans for the future then? So as you said, maybe Europe's.
Yeah. If not, it'll just be face off at Sam Watt 2022. Try and hang on for my dear life.
So just wait for him to retire, but from the sounds of it, he's never going.
Nah, we've got to make him retire. I think there was some quote I heard. It was in King of Lifts. I don't know if you've heard of them. They're like another powerlifting podcast.
That's not Parker's thing, is it?
No, it's a Canadian guy. Yeah, King of Lifts. Yeah.
Yes. No.
Yeah. He was just saying something like, he said that lions never retire. They always have to get killed off by the younger ones.
There's none of them to do
it. That's it.
That's been knocked off the top spot.
Basically, yeah. So I guess I want him to stay as long as possible. Definitely. I think he's pushing the powerlifting for the 105s a lot and holding a lot of people to standard.
I was gonna say, could you get maybe what's his name, Russell? What's his name, Russwell? Maybe he could go up to the 105s.
He's only 5'5", 5'4", so he'll be big.
That's why he looks so massive in all of the videos. He's a freak, but he looks huge.
Everyone says that the best thing. So he gets a lot of hate or suspicion because of how jacked he is in pictures. Yeah. But if you look at pictures of him next to other athletes, like 105 boys, he kind of just looks. He's got big arms. That's all you pretty much just say.
He does a lot of power building, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just sort of looking at the people that are King Lewis on Instagram, and then Bryce Lewis has turned up in his underpants, getting ready for him. Oh, I think he's going back down to the 93s.
He's going back down to 93s. Have you ever seen National Ruska before?
I don't think I have.
Nah, check up National Ruska.
Oh, mate, send me the link for that. This has just turned up into like a fanboy powerlifting podcast. Like, look how jacked this guy is. But I think one of the things we're sort of seeing in the theme is like, especially when you go down from the super heavyweights, most guys in the weight classes seem to be absolutely maxed out, like with the amount of muscle they're carrying for that class.
Yeah, a lot of people. I think there's starting to be a shift towards maximizing muscle mass in the weight class rather than weight. So it's rather trying to maintain as much lean muscle mass and fill out the class rather than just fill up the class in the first place.
Do you think that's going to be better, as in they're not rushing into that next weight class? They've got a higher percentage of muscle. That makes sense. And then when they go up into the next, guessing then when you go up into the next weight class, if you're at say the 105, but you're 95% lean mass, surely then when you go up into the 105, you can gain 5 kilos of fat. So you jump from 105 to 110 very quickly, but you're still
very
quite a
lean,
high percentage of muscle sort of thing. Not that you would be 105 kilos and 5% body fat. That would be quite impressive. But yeah, just some bad numbers there.
Yeah, that would be insane. No, I think like it's starting to shift, because even when you start looking at the top guys all the way down to the 66, well, not necessarily the 120s. The 120s, the 120 boys they're still kind of big. But the 105,
what are you trying to say about us?
That's Kieran Gray. Kieran Gray. I don't know. He's
Kieran Gray. He's on there. Yeah,
he's stacked. I saw him at Nationals. He's stacked. And Benji's also kind of stacked too. He's just got crazy massive legs.
Yes, doesn't he? They're freaking monsters.
Yeah,
but I love watching him squat because it just seems like a car crash. Not in terms of it looks terrible, but just like the power, the face, everything. It's like, which way is it gonna go? And he just fucking wrenches it up with his back. It's like he's done it. He's a fun lifter to watch. He's a fun lifter to watch. He's Mr. Intense, isn't he? Like, we had him on the we had on the podcast, and I was like, I thought I talk fast, but when I get going, honestly, we were like, has he dropped a line before coming on to the podcast or something? But he was brilliant, actually. I really enjoyed talking to him, just full of great information as well. But he was a good crack. But I was kind of hoping when I was talking to you, I thought you guys were in the same weight class. I was hoping we could have a little maybe get you both.
Oh no, he left. He left to the 120s, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, no, there's always.
Is that the guy that was just like really, really, really happy to be here?
Yeah, he was brilliant. Benji, the powerlifter. And he was just like, it was cool. I liked it. I really liked him. We've chatted a few times over Instagram. Obviously, seen he came third at the 120s is good, but he added some good things about in terms of. He said he almost regretted trying to keep his weight lower when he was younger for weight classes.
Fair enough. He's been in the 105 for a while.
Yeah, he's been on for a while, and now he's kind of pushing forward. I think he's really enjoying. I think there is something in there. I do think you get a massive stimulus from gaining weight, like especially when you've reduced your count, when you've sort of, maybe not for you because you've kind of slowly built up to it, but for the guys that have really, kept themselves in a deficit for a long time to be a certain weight. When you let that go, it's almost like the brakes go off and just the gains are crazy, like going up for a weight class. But I think the slow and steady is definitely the way, especially you're only 24. But I think the difference for you, mate, is your current national champion. So if you want to stay in that weight class to be national champion, you stay in that weight class. It's not like local meets where people are turning sitting in salt baths to squat 110 kilos. It's like just have fun. Just have fun. That's the key thing. Fun. Yeah. And I think the thing for you is having fun is winning as well. Like, that's always a fun thing to do. So, that's nice. That's a nice cherry on the top. Yeah, I think the obvious question for me would be, when are we going to see the 800-pound deadlift? When it happens, I don't know. I'm actually swapping from sumo to conventional for a bit, actually, just to give my head to the breast. Yeah. Okay, so I think from what I've seen, you're a sumo player. Have you always been sumo? Yes, because I have terrible lower back capacity.
It's like, I don't know why, but it's always just been terrible. So I actually started off sumo pretty early. But I think I always had a good deadlift pull, but then so my lower back was shit, but then my hips weren't that much better. So when I actually started pulling sumo, it was just a lot of load very quickly. So because I got the hip pain, I've been dealing with the hip pain for 3 years now. It's been there. It's just like it's just the new resident in my life, kind of.
It's almost like the sumo is good if you had to take the back pain, but I think people dive straight to sumo when they're not quite ready for it. You see a lot of hip strains with sumo. Like it takes a beat, especially if to get. I think it takes time, right, to build that real upright torso and spreading the floor. But I think you're obviously doing it very well. But I mean, this is the question that comes up occasionally quite a few times as well. Like, how do you train your competition deadlift? Do you spend most of your time for the sumo, or do you sort of go between the two, or would you spend more time maybe doing conventional for the sumo?
So it depends on where I'm at in the block. So normally doing comp prep, I'm purely sumo, but actually sumo once a week. We've tried doing 2 times a week, but the hips just can't handle it. That's always the main issue. So the best way for someone to train sumo is not going to be the best way I train sumo, because I'm very low. Like if you looked at my training volume for sumo, you would just be like, what have you done? Because it's very low volume. So just be like 2-3 sets of triples. That's it. That's all I'm training, because that's all my hip can handle. Kinda, because I get fatigued very easily too. So my top end trend is very good on sumo, but my volume work capacity is pure shit.
That's interesting. So you might be your classic sort of fast twitch, maybe. Like
I'll say so. Yeah, I can't do what Benji does. Like he can rack out 240 for 4 sets of 6. Or I can't do 240 for 4 sets of 6.
Yeah, I've had this bout with people before. It's like it's almost like, obviously Benji's different stories. Guys both pulling around the 340 mark, but like they'd almost be proud of. I've gone to this track myself. Like I did 5x5 with this. Like I've done tons of this. It's like, well, no one cares. What's your max? Like, oh, but I've tripled this, and I was like, it doesn't matter. Like, what's your max? That is the most important thing. So I think it's a great example of, obviously you've got a good relationship with your coach when you realize that excessive volume is probably, maybe it was like you might have started with excessive volume, but you're like, hang on a second, this isn't working. So you have to strip back and build. But it's obviously that 2-3 sets a week is working for you, and you're in that kind of fine line of not getting injured but just pushing it just enough, right?
Definitely.
I call it dry humping. You're just kind of pushing it just enough, but you're not climaxing. You just getting there enough, working out. But you're right, Don, with all the powerlifting chat. It's just keeping you happy. We'll get Don happy. Do you do any fluff training? Do you do any sort of like pump work or anything?
Oh, I do a ton. I actually enjoy it.
There you go.
So the reason why I said I'll never do bodybuilding, it's just I don't know. So I every single session, like I do my powerlifting stuff. I've always done that same way. Like now it's slowly changing where I'm becoming more specific and going to the SPD days more often. But from when I started, it'll be a bench workout, and then it's just chest bodybuilding style, like machines, dumbbells, rep work, supersets, and stuff like that. I've always enjoyed doing that. But for me, when it comes to bodybuilding, it's kind of like, when you put your hoodie on, you chase the pump. You try and everything feels tight, everything feels nice. You take your hoodie off and you're not impressed with what you see, kind of thing. So that's just where me and bodybuilding just part ways. I enjoy bodybuilding training, but I don't enjoy that part, kind of thing. So
If the bodybuilding trainers, I think it's always good for powerlifters to give it a go, because I think they get very content. I'm a powerlifter, I do doubles, and then you give them body work and they're like, what the hell is this? But I think it's definitely a good way to go, to just put a little bit into your training. But I think fluff work, it almost became, I think you're of that generation, right, where it was almost like fashionable to not do any fluff work. It was like, oh, you're doing a tricep press down, like, what the hell are you doing? You should just be squat, bench, deadlift. Maybe you guys skipped it, but there was a period of time when it was only like, you should only squat, bench, deadlift, anything else is silly. I was like, I don't think so. But,
I grew up on like CT Fletcher. That was the era. So I was there in the gym. I was there in the gym 19, 20, talking to my biceps in the corner.
You actually were, mate. Do you know, I had like I was just when you broke up. I did Don earlier. I was talking to Mo about Mo's Nigerian. I was saying how I've had a couple of training partners who are Nigerian, and they are the biggest, strongest bastards I've ever lifted with in my life, but they were really fun to train with as well. But I was saying, one of the guys who trained with Munn was like, he actually loved like Larry Wills, CT Fletcher, all that kind of stuff. And he'd literally be like shouting his arms as he's lifting. And we're talking, mate, he must have had like 20-inch guns easy. Like he just loved lifting for fun. I was like, there's just the density of the muscle on him. I was like, bloody hell! But it was just great crack. I've got another power trainer with these like, he probably didn't know how to do a backflip in like 2 sessions and could like bench press the same as me despite being like 90 kilos. And it was just like it's almost, I'd love training with, when I was training with them, just it's a different level of athleticism and strength and power.
Just pure genetic, like elite.
Oh, it's amazing. But then they still like,
what's his, is it the Natty Professor? Is he Nigerian as well?
Who's that, Professor?
So he, what's his? I can't remember. Like he used to call himself the Natty Professor on YouTube. But I'm sure he changed his handle. He used to train with Mark Bell.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it I don't know if they're not strength up there. Insima, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I don't know if he's Nigerian actually, but he's jacked as hell too.
Yeah, he gets called fake Natty all the time, doesn't he?
No, is he? Fair enough. I'm surprised.
He's also got the smoothest voice of any fucker on a podcast I've ever listened to. Just anytime he talks, I'm like, I'm listening. I'm going to fast as well. Do you know? I'm going carnivore because you told me to. Like, but yeah, it's just, but then we see these guys push themselves and then go to the next level as well, because it's just, we had in rugby a few sort of guys with African backgrounds. They're just so strong, but then they're just incredible athletes. Like it was almost like a joy to see them lift. Like it would be the kind of people in the gym. You probably get this as well, Mo, in the gym, where people just stop and watch. It was just like, I loved it. Absolutely love seeing that strength. Absolutely love it. Well, but probably you're training with your top off in FSI, aren't you? Won't be doing that in winter up here, mate. No, it's too cold now. Like, judging from the accent, you're obviously not from up here. It's too cold. And
way too cold.
I've spoken about it on the podcast before, down the gym where it's like -7 in winter, like inside.
Yeah.
Like,
that would make a good video, that you shirtless in like Christmas.
Just steaming.
Genuinely couldn't do that. Genuinely couldn't do that. I get like those heat packet things that you can like pop and like they warm your hands up. I have to do them the whole time during winter. I'm not looking forward to it actually, now that I think about it.
You'll be fine, mate. It put airs on your chest, not you. I'm sure, man. But Morrison, you sort of sponsored with the gym now?
Yes, so I am sponsored by FSI Gym actually, so I get a free membership. It's pretty cool.
Brilliant,
you really like shout out and stuff. So it's really
nice. That's good. It sounds like they've really supported you along your journey. Like, I think you've been training a couple of years. They seem to be behind you, which I think is, fantastic. I think as an athlete, especially one of your level, I think little things like that mean a lot here.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty nice for them actually. Nice of them to do.
I like that confidence. It's nice for them to have me in there.
So how did that come about? Was it you get on with the owner? Like, is it just?
I think it actually happened when they had a change of management. So right. I think Joe, who's the current owner, I used to see him about in the gym, but I actually never talked to him before. And then once he took over the gym, he kind of just reached out and said, "You want to be a sponsored athlete?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's amazing. Thank you for the offer."
Fair enough. It looks cool for your Instagram as well. And I've seen you got a YouTube, which is, anyone that's done content on YouTube knows it is time. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. So I'd say definitely head over to your channels to see some stuff. Like I love those kind of videos because it gives you a great insight into training. Like when, if you've got an interest in powerlifting or bodybuilding, whatever, you can find tons of people on there. But for every, what's their names, like Shreds guy that pops up in every fucking advert when you type in like, you can get lean with no cardio and eating carbs. I don't know what his name is, but he pops up on my Facebook all the time. For every dick like that, there's some great channels out there and some phenomenal athletes to follow, and I think Mo's one of them. So
thank you very much.
Do you plan on keep updating that alongside your work?
Oh yeah. I'm probably, because the weights are not going to be heavy for a while, so I'll try to do more like mix other content inside there. So there will still be some training ones, but just general discussion ones and some other off topics I've got in my mind. But I'll try and get back on it from end of this week to next. I just need to actually sit down and record. That's the hardest part.
What's your day job?
So I work as a R&D engineer, but it's a software and electrical basically combined together. So it's a small electrical company in North Shields I work for.
That's handy. That's where the gym is. Cool.
Yeah.
So did that come about from studying up here?
Yeah, it did. So as soon as I finished my masters, I started applying for jobs, and then one of their HR guys reached out to me, came down for an interview, and then been working there for about 2 years now. So it's not too bad.
Do you find, I think some people normally find once they've been at uni summer, they normally go off again or normally go to London. But I think it's,
London's too expensive.
Yeah,
way too pricey.
It is quite something, yeah. But,
Yeah.
I think Newcastle's good, but I think you're down in Sandyford, I think you're saying, which is sort of just nearest the city centre. But I remember now, yeah. Didn't you have like a full calibrated setup in your living room?
Yeah, we did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love it.
Bought some calibrated plate with some DIY metal trestles for squat racks.
Amazing. You've got these ridiculously expensive plates with freaking make it yourself squat rack. I love it. I just sums powerlifters up, spend the money on the plates, not the thing that would stop you snapping your knee in half or something.
Everything doesn't matter. Just the plates matter.
Yeah, God, it's got to be calibrates, bro. We love it. We're in a home gym for it. Basically this whole thing started because of people training at home.
Yeah.
And just the discussions on plates are hilarious. Why would you have this? You got to have this. Oh, this place shit. This place shit. But then it gets into people talking about what brand of calibrated plate you get. It's just I love how nuanced it gets and how over the top we all get about it, especially powerlifting, mate. I think I went through maybe 4 or 5 different brands of knee sleeves before I just went back to SBD again, just to
Fair enough.
know them all. Do you know what I mean? Just stupid things like that. But then I've got an old Inza which has done the trick for ages.
But that's you're training for your top end strength, so you're going to notice these little things rather, because you notice when 250 kg feels different, or 250 kg of calibrated plates feel very different to 250 kg of pure gym plates. So you can tell those differences, and the bar will matter to you, the plates, the shoes you wear, the atmosphere of the room.
I was going to say it
totally powers up.
I think, as you said, because you're at that top end strength. So at 250 kilos, what's that? 4 or 5 plates on each side?
Yeah.
So if each of those plates is off by just 1%, so what's that? 2 kilos? Multiply that by 10 plates. That's a big difference. And obviously when you're competing, you're going to have calibrated plates. So you're better off. If you think you've been pulling 220 in the gym and actually you've been pulling 205, and then you go to a competition and you're tapering up to think you're pulling 220, you'll get a nasty surprise.
Yeah.
And then I think it's interesting what you said there, Dan, when people are just there's no point in paying for calibrated plates, blah, 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 when you're at home. And it's just if people have got the money to be able to do it, and that's their hobby, and that's what they enjoy doing, right, I'm not being funny, you don't need a car that's got 600 brake horsepower driving it around in a city. But people still pay £500,000 to get a Lamborghini because that's what they want.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the thing with I think this came up with Benji as well, actually. It's the difference between maybe winning and losing a competition. And I think when you're lifting the weights you guys are, I remember going from a Texas power bar to a higher power bar, and I couldn't believe the difference from going from one to the other. I mean, it wasn't. I'm always one of those people that it doesn't make a difference. Oh, this is all rubbish. What people are about to shut up and lift. And then I went on it. I was like, bloody hell! The whip on it. And I was like, oh. I mean, I'm still not going to pay for the Alico bar. I'll still
Alico is prime, top of the end, expensive.
Yeah, just
$1,000 for a bar.
Well, that's it. I mean, we talk about winning and losing, but I'm not willing to invest the extra £1,000 for the barbell just on the off chance. But yeah, no, it does make a difference. I mean, this is where the gym you train in. It's great to have this comp spec kit and using the right, we talked about it a bit earlier, but I find the thing in competition that can differ the most is bench press, purely because of the bench you're going on. It can feel completely different to what you train on
Oh
at home.
yeah. The
So-
Alico is very different. Like because we had a full Alico comp setup, that was completely different. The bench is really nice though. Very nice. Very
But
expensive too.
you'd hope so for what the cost of it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it
Cost
does
an arm
make
and
a
a leg
difference,
for it.
Yeah.
So
it does.
Mo, if the guys want to find you on Instagram, you said you've got a YouTube channel as well.
Yes.
So well, where can they find you if they want to watch some of your lifts or watch some of your content?
So I think for Instagram, 2 seconds, let me check because I always forget this every single time. What for Instagram, it's _ Abdul Mojeed. So that's ABDULMOJEED. And then for the YouTube channel, it's just Mojeed Sulayman, which is MOJEEDSULAYMAN. And those are the two main platforms that I'm actually. Those are the only two platforms I'm active on. Pretty much, yeah.
Fair enough. Well,
How was your
been-
bodybuilding comp, by the way?
Pardon?
Your bodybuilding comp. You had a bodybuilding comp?
Yes. So I came fourth in the
Okay.
novice class of
Oh,
about 10
congratulations.
guys.
Okay.
So it's one of those, I didn't get an invite to nationals in that federation, but I'm
Yeah.
going to go and do another show in about 6 weeks' time. So we've got 6 more weeks to pull off a little bit more body fat and see what happens. Different panel of judges, different lineup. I might get another crack at that next level. But the thing, what I'm struggling with now is because Two Bros, this is the time first. So I think they did their first natural show last year.
Okay.
So it's not as big a federation, even though Two Bros are the like what is the IFBB in the UK, I think, or something like that. But they've just branched out into the natural side of it. But they've got so many classes. So you've got first timers, you've got beginners, and then you've got novice class.
What's the difference
Both
between all three?
bodybuilding and classic. So
Yeah.
6 different classes I could enter there. I have no idea
Sure.
which one I need to go. So first timers is if it's the first time you've competed with them. So not the first time you've ever competed, first time you've competed with them. Beginners is if you've competed 1 to 3 times, and then novice is if you've competed more than 3 times, but you've never come in the top 3 of a open class or something like that. So it's just a bit like basically me and my coach are going to look at the photos and decide which one of these classes should I enter, because and we don't want another thing of entering it's great to enter a busy class.
Yeah.
But, like at that show, there was then 3 people in the short class, and there was 18 in the novice class. So I could have gone into the short class. However, I've been competing directly against my coach, which would have been weird. A little bit of a conflict of interest there as well.
That, bro.
Yeah, fun times.
I'd love to do that, like get in the same class as your coach. It'd be fucking big. Because as a coach, you're like,
It wouldn't, because my coach, have you ever shown you picture? Let me show you Jake's picture before we go. So he's an inch smaller than me, but I'm pretty sure he was 95 kilos on stage.
Okay.
Instagram.
God, every time someone goes into your browser, do you remember in the garage group, someone left their private tab open?
Yeah.
Screenshot. Oh, no, it's brilliant. Someone shows, I was just like tracking whichever good, and like the next like tab they had on their page was like big tits. Like, so good.
Where?
He's like, hey Mo, look at my coach. He's so jacked. One day
I can't actually find him because I'm not signed in.
It's a powerlifting podcast today. We're not talking about people in trunks. I've seen you in your freaking posing trunks more times than I've probably been on Pornhub this week. Honestly.
Look good, man. Shit. Pretty jacked.
He's done well.
Here he is.
There he is.
So it won't let me zoom in on it. But yeah, that was Jake on the day.
Shit, fair enough then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's funny.
Nah,
Nah,
Like,
you'd have held
it's,
your own, man.
yeah, you would have had your own. But it's the natty bodybuilder thing again, isn't it? Like when we had him on the podcast, you think he was just a normal bloke, and then you see him
Yeah.
there, he's absolutely jacked. Yeah.
The curse of natty bodybuilder, as you said.
Mate, it is the code, mate. If natty bodybuilders were like in-person PTs, they would have to just like lift up their shirt any opportunity. You want to train with me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so use Instagram. Mate, the key is what is it? What's the key, remember? We just got to build our neck and traps and have massive neck, shoulders and traps. And then people want to train with you. That's the key, mate.
Fair enough.
Just walk
Then
around
I
like this all the time.
just go with massive legs. That's the one.
Yeah, he just stands in his really short shorts, no matter the day. All the time. He's like at a wedding, like, can you see these? It is different. Like, do you remember the picture of Thor, Chris Hemsworth, when he's like upper body's absolutely massive, and then it's got a shot of his calves, and they're like literally like not even
Sticks.
there. It just
Yeah.
it looks so weird. I mean, I guess you could say like it doesn't matter because on screen he's never
They can do
sex out.
whatever. Yeah.
But then but when you see the picture, like, mate, you're talking to me, I've literally got baby calves, man. But it was really like ridiculous. Like, whoa, you really don't have any. It just looked very, his arms look a little bit juicy at the moment, as they said. Was it IFBB arms they call it?
I have baby arms. Right, guys, I've got to dash. But it's been great to speak to you, Mo. And
Yeah,
I'm
thanks
sure
for coming
I'll
on,
catch
mate.
up with you later in the week, Dan.
Yes, definitely, mate.
No
Well,
problem.
thanks for
Right,
coming on,
guys.
man.
Enjoy
Best
Enjoy
of
the
luck
rest
for
of
all
your
future
evening.
comes.
Bye for now.
See you later, dude.